record.
Okay, sound is
Okay.
rolling. Can we do clap? Hi, everybody.
I'm John.
And I'm Ann, and this is
John and Ann's Wrestling Podcast. Stop it. This is a shoot.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to John and Ann's Wrestling Podcast. That's also a video because it's 2023.
And honestly, where have you been? A lot of podcasts around it. Howard Stern was doing this in the 90s.
Yeah.
He had a radio show that was on TV.
Don Imus, ever heard of him? I hope not.
Yeah, he wouldn't. Yeah, he wasn't that nice. What?
Don't make fun of Don Imus on our podcast.
He still has agents lurking about. They'll get us.
Yeah. All right, so let's start off this week. We're going to talk about a few things, and then we're going to have a little guest later.
We're going to have a tiny little guest.
I mean, he's a regular-sized guest.
Yeah, he's actually pretty tall.
Really?
Yeah, he's over 6
Oh,
feet.
yeah, he is pretty tall.
Yeah, he's like 6'3",
Yeah.
6'4".
Yeah,
Gotta
so
ask him
anyway,
when he's on.
later on in the pod, Casey James Salengo is going to join us to talk about Raw.
Comedy legend.
Because we famously denounced Raw.
We have denounced it. We've come out against Raw.
Yeah.
We stand
and
against it.
A lot of people got real mad at us for that.
Did
so we're, no.
they? Oh.
He's terrible at working the gimmick, ladies and gentlemen.
What?
The gimmick being that we run a wildly successful podcast.
What? I mean, maybe my gimmick is that I'm so high and mighty that I don't care about the plebes.
That's fair.
There you
Anyway.
go. See, I've turned it back on my heel.
So a little later, we'll talk to Casey about Raw, but let's start off with the week's big wrestling thing, which was AEW Revolution.
That's right. I tried to think of a joke one that was less important, but I took too long. And here we
AEW
are.
Coup d'etat.
AEW. It was funny during the show. One of the commentators was like, "This is the fourth revolution we've had," and it was just like, "Man, this government must be so destabilized."
Yeah.
That's rough.
That's what happens at AEW.
Yeah,
Just
you
a
gotta-
constant power vacuum.
Yeah. But no, it was a phenomenal show. That was a fantastic show.
It was a great show. Everyone at the Squared Circle subreddit loved it,
Yes.
and
yes.
so did we.
Yeah, we loved it. We didn't watch it together.
No, he went to his friend's house. And
Yeah.
I stayed home and watched it by myself
Yeah.
because I'm really dedicated to this art form.
Yeah, and I am too. And also
I mean, to be fair, I had just gotten back from a yoga retreat. I was invited to the friend's house. I didn't want to go,
yeah.
and he did.
And
so
I
read
also
into that however
he
you
had
want.
he had a kitten. He had a new kitten. and
He
I
had
wanted
a
to see the
kitten. Yeah, he went
She's
looking
great.
for some kitten, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, come on. Look,
That's what he was doing.
Look.
That's what he was doing.
come on.
No, but we loved AEW Revolution.
We loved it.
What did we like about it? Start from the top.
Okay, so start from the top. All right. Dun, 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 dun. We really enjoyed.
Don't I-
Okay, never again.
This is about to be a musical podcast. Well, I mean, we really enjoyed the Jungle Boy casket match.
Yeah, the
We
final
really enjoyed
burial.
that.
We well, the first match also was Jericho and Ricky Starks. Apparently, Ricky
Jericho and
Starks
Ricky
is
Starks.
his first ever pay-per-view win in AEW. Isn't that crazy?
That is
Because
crazy.
he's been there almost not quite from the beginning.
I
He
was
came
gonna
in during
say.
that pandemic era. He came in during the Cody Rhodes. I think pre-Cody Rhodes when he was still just Cody, because he didn't have the rights to the Rhodes name. And he was one of the challengers for the TNT
Yeah.
Championship.
I
Came
mean,
in
I guess
after
I
that.
buy it then because they have not had very many pay-per-views.
They haven't, yeah, and he's been a heel in a lot of them, so he hasn't quite won, but he won. It was a really good match, and Jericho, he did the right thing there, and it was, I think Ricky Starks is a fantastic babyface. But yeah, that was a hot way to start the show.
It was hot.
It was hot and heavy.
And Jericho loves that opening match spot. He's famous for only liking to be in the opening slot or the headlining slot. He doesn't like to be in the middle of any show. If you ever see Jericho up second at a wrestling show, he's pissed.
Yeah.
That's
and
what we can know.
it's also funny to me, all the people that have to wrestle in those spots and him just being like, yeah, this sucks.
Yeah.
This really sucks. And it's
Yeah.
like, I could be all right. I mean, I don't have really a choice. Jungle Boy and Christian did it. Christian. There you go. Christian, his peer.
Was that the second
That
show?
was the second match.
one? Oh, that was a great match.
It was great.
I think we're going to talk about it a lot later, but maybe. But
One
no,
thing
we
I-
can talk about it now.
One
Forget
thing
it.
I will say about that match is I hope that Christian was prepped on how fast that coffin was going to drop into the grave as soon as Jungle Boy closed
there was a great coffin drop.
It just shot down super fast, and being inside of a small enclosed space, moving super quickly like that, felt like a little Tower of Terror situation.
Yeah, I bet it went very small distance though. I bet it went like 4 inches.
Probably.
You know, I bet it just went, and then the smoke popped up.
Yeah, that's probably true, but it still was gone real fast.
I'm sorry if I killed the magic for you.
No, he went to hell. That's what it was.
Was it really important for you to imagine him falling like a full story?
Yeah, he went and did a little like a Wile E. Coyote fall.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I just totally wrecked that for you. It was a great match. His mom and sister were there rooting him on. He did what I read as a heel turn.
I don't think it was a heel turn.
You didn't read into it that way, but I was watching it again, and Jim Ross or one of them at one point says like he finally gave in or something after he hits Christian with the concerto. I think it is a bit of a heel turn, ladies and gents.
I think it's just that he's, Christian was so he lost his real father, his dad, Luke Perry, and then Christian had been a mentor to him.
Yeah.
In the years that shortly thereafter, and I think he was reluctant to attack him in as brutal a way as Christian had been attacking him, and I think that was just him finally being like not wanting to lower himself to Christian's level, and I think that was him accepting that he's just got to kill this demon and exorcise him. So
you don't think concertoing your mentor makes you a heel?
Not in a context where concertoing somebody and that mentor also being a professional wrestler, is except if I did that at work, like if I concertoed my boss or the people that trained me, then they might be into something.
He's gonna concerto his boss, ladies and
gentlemen. No.
Did you hear that?
We don't even work in the same state, so don't worry. Even if it came to that,
Yeah.
Even if it comes to that, it won't.
That's great. What was after them? Was it the Jamie Hayter match?
We could just pull up the card.
Oh, great. Now I got to edit this out.
No, you don't have to edit this out. AEW Rev, baby. Revolution 2022. We're almost there.
Almost there. Now I got to...
2023.
I'm going to have to edit all this out.
No, people
so
know.
boring.
This is not boring.
It's so boring. Watching two people surf
House
the
of
internet.
Black, the trios match. That was
the House of Black trios match.
I was almost going to nominate this for the match of the week, but I just feel, there's so many other things to talk about. But this is a great match. I'm really glad the House of Black won.
Yes.
Crowd, I think, they were a little split, but I think they were behind the House of Black. I think everybody wants to see them. Also, I was worried if the House of Black lost that they would just leave. Because I'm always afraid of a lot of ex-WWE guys being tempted to go back.
Yeah.
And I like House of Black where they are.
Yeah, and they were great. They had an awesome entrance with Julia Hart. She wore cone fingers. Which, if you don't know what that is, I can't describe it to you any better than that. They were cones on her fingers, folks.
Yeah.
And she went like this and did one of these, and then they all appeared, and it was very badass. Lots of heavy metal music. It was really sweet. Everybody loved it.
Yeah, it was really adorable and sweet. But no, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then after that
was Jamie Hayter.
That was right. It was the one women's match on the show.
Jamie Hayter retains.
She did. And
that's my catchphrase on this podcast. Jamie Hayter retains.
Have I said before that I think her catchphrase, so it's Hayter hits hard, and I think it should be Hayter hits harder. Because it is more
because of the
and then also it's a lot of people hit hard, but you hit harder than them.
Yeah,
you're Hayter.
I thought it was gonna be, isn't it? Haters gonna hate. Didn't she have that? At
she
one
may
point?
have
it
had
shows
that.
up on the screen when she comes out sometimes.
Maybe she may have that, but haters love her now, or the haters. We're the haters, and we love her.
We are haters. We're both haters.
I think that it was the right call having her retain, and also I figured that she would just retain. Or I figured Ruby Soho wouldn't win, even though I do love Jamie Hayter, and I'm glad she won. I was thinking that maybe that Ruby Soho could win, but I figured she needed to make a decision. I think that's where the story needed to go.
Yeah, so Ruby Soho made a heel turn.
That was definitely a heel turn. There's no denying that was a heel turn.
Yes, but she did it in a way that I've established I don't care for. John's going to argue with me on this, but I don't care for this. It's this thing they do in wrestling where and it actually happened on Raw too, so we can talk to Casey about this later.
Mm-hmm.
But where someone is like gonna have to choose between two people, and they go up to person A, and they're like, there's like tension, and they wait, and they're like, I don't know, and then they like hug or embrace or high five or do something that makes the crowd go, they chose person A, hurrah! And then after that crowd swell dies down, they'll punch person A right in the face,
Or kick them
right in the face.
I want to defend this because this is actually how we started
and
dating.
they're like, ha ha ha, you thought I picked person A when I actually picked person B long ago. And I just don't care for it, because I feel like that moment of tension when you're staring at person A, that's it. That's the moment of tension. To lie to us is just to trick us. That's not creating tension. That's just lying to us. That's just a trick.
I think it's an effective way to create that tension. Then also, I mean, it can not make sense depending on how you perform it. It can be weird. It has to be justified. The Ruby Soho one was a little less because she threw the people she was going to join up with out of the ring first and then turned.
And that didn't make any sense to me at all.
And the Jey Uso one, I think, was more that he was just trying to let Sammy get close enough to him because Sammy was apprehensive. But it is a thing where sometimes in wrestling there are things that are accepted as like how things are in wrestling because they can manipulate the crowd.
Yeah.
While if you analyze them too deeply, sometimes they don't make a ton of sense. Even just people have talked about like, why do people keep running when they get whipped into the ropes? Why don't they just stop running? And that like
stuff like that. I mean, that's part of the performance of it, I think. I just don't care for this like tricky thing. I think because it makes the person who's playing the heel seem a little unhinged or like crazy.
That is often, I think, a positive of it though, because they are often not great people or not. Right.
I disagree. I think heels should be sane, sound businessmen and women.
That's fair. I mean, a lot of heels in WWE tend to just be very correct. Like, they just tend to be, like, the ones who are telling the truth, and then the baby faces are often, like, just mean bullies.
Yeah. But anyway, so Ruby Soho is a heel now. She's on Team Saraya and Toni Storm.
The Divas or whatever?
With all the little WWE ladies.
Yeah.
Walking around like they own the place.
WWE
bitches.
I know. I don't know if I like it because Ruby Soho is such a good baby face. And the crowd really likes her, and I mean, not that she can't be a heel. She's been a heel before, but I just don't. I don't know if it's the right call.
I think I like it. I'll be honest. I feel the same way about Ruby Soho. I really like her, and I liked her as a babyface. But I kind of love there being like a faction of women who have something in common that binds them together. So I do like that she's on this like group that has a cohesive. DNA.
They do have a clear theme, and Saraya definitely needs somebody to like take bumps in there more like sometimes, so she doesn't have to do it all the time.
Yeah.
But it'll be something new for Ruby, because I think she's kind of been in a funk.
Yeah, I mean, now that there's like a whole faction for people to like fight against, there's opportunities for more storylines, which is exciting.
And if the TBS championship ever moves away from just being Jade Cargill and a bunch of random guest stars, then perhaps one of them can win it. But we'll see. Maybe in a year.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
Maybe. Well, we have to decide if we have a story for Jade. We got to maybe take another year to figure that out.
Unfortunately.
And then we had another match that I think I may have nominated for match of the year, but match of the week. The Texas Death Match. Jon Moxley versus Hangman Adam Page, which I thought was great. It was very bloody, not everybody's cup of tea, very aggressive, and I really enjoyed it.
It was pretty bloody. It was. I think it was fine. I liked it. I'm not squeamish about blood. I'm not nuts about blood. I don't want to see blood. I'm not like blood, but it was good. It was a good match.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't love this thing wrestlers are doing. Well, I mean, not to the extent that I don't love the heel thing, but like multiple times this week, I watched people do this on people's injuries, where they like pull their cuts open so they bleed more, and I just don't like that because it's so icky. But it's fine as a wrestling thing. Like, they're allowed to do it. It's just not my favorite.
Yeah. Sorry, I was busy selling.
Yeah, you sold great.
Thank you.
They say a good professional wrestler could wrestle a mop and make it look like the mop is kicking their ass, and you just did that for me. A mop.
I have often mopped and made it look like the mop was kicking my ass. I'm not very good at cleaning.
That mop was kicking your ass.
It really was. I don't want to talk about it. Okay. But yeah, that was. I thought it was a great match.
Can you explain what the rules of a Texas death match are to me?
So
I get that it's like a theme.
I haven't seen a lot of them. I don't know why this one was Texas. Usually it's like they just call it that if it's in Texas. And this one was in San Francisco, California. But generally, I think the idea is that you can only win by like pinfall, submission, or knockout, which is not necessarily that different from a regular match. But it's just basically like a no-holds-barred match with
lots of barbed wire. Yeah, because that's what Jon Moxley likes.
Yeah,
barbed wire.
And they and you're just adding calling it the Texas Death Match. I think they're just trying to present it in a more like a more specific way. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's basically like I think they pushed the knockout thing as part of it, which is not how the match ended, but it was actually Jon Moxley. It had to be his first submission.
Oh, really?
Also, I love the ending because he hung him.
Oh yeah, he did.
He's a hangman.
Yeah, that was
wild. And he hung him, and it was cool because it was a very like believable situation where this guy who never taps out would be like, I'm gonna die. I have to tap out, and he tapped out.
Then who didn't tap out? Samoa Joe, who did get choked to death.
Samoa Joseph. That's right. He didn't.
He was choked into unconsciousness.
Yeah.
By Wardlow.
Watching this match, so the crowd was a little dead for this match because they had just seen a full pay-per-view at this point.
Yeah.
And the Texas Death Match was other than the Iron Man match, the longest match on the card. So they were pretty tired. Mm-hmm. And Wardlow's been gone for a while, but
and also like, how many matches can we fight over one man stealing another man's hair?
Yeah.
I know it's like a trope in wrestling. They steal each other's hair and they steal each other's hair and they fight to get it back. But I think it's time to move on from this concern over hair.
Well, hair is
Wardlow, you can grow more hair.
I was gonna make a joke about hair being like a really long-standing tradition in wrestling, and then I remember that it actually really is.
Yeah.
The hair versus hair match.
Yeah.
The stipulations about the hair.
There's a real obsession with hair in wrestling.
And I think Samoa Joe knew the story that we had not known actually at the time. Yeah. It's funny that they didn't tell us about. They should have figured that they should have explained that Wardlow thing before he cut his hair off, so that we could like understand why that was so messed up to do. Mm-hmm. Instead, they explained it.
Why was
months
it? It's
because
he grew it when his father was alive or something.
Yeah, he didn't have a good relationship with his dad, and then like before. A couple of years ago, his dad reached out to him and was like, I'm going to die, basically. Mm-hmm. I have a terminal illness, and I just really want to try to reconnect, while I have some time. And
that's
they did.
It really counts.
And his hair. Yeah, exactly. Well, I guess it's better than nothing. And his dad had longer hair and a beard, and so he started growing out his hair and beard.
Yeah.
And then Samoa Joe knows this story and purposely cuts off that hair,
which is messed up.
It is pretty messed up, right? There's no reason to do that, Yeah. And so Wardlow, rewatching this match, I was like, oh, Wardlow is pretty awesome. I forgot how good Wardlow is, but I still think, I don't know. Sometimes I worry that he's just too, I don't know, like WWE or something. I can't tell, but I just worry that people are going to turn on him, not because of a failing of him or anything that's wrong with him. I just worry that people will turn on him for some reason. But
he does have kind of a heel energy to him.
Yeah,
and the name is a good heel name, Wardlow.
I also kind of wanted Joe to, because I want Powerhouse Hobbs to win that title because he won the Face of the Revolution ladder match, and I was very excited for him to do that. I really want Hobbs to win the TNT Championship and have it for like a while, because I think he's like a big superstar and just waiting to break out. So I wanted the winner of this match to lose to him immediately on Dynamite. And I was hoping that maybe like Joe would retain, and then maybe Wardlow could do like a little program with MJF.
This was your nerd fantasy booking, and it didn't come true. Or this was a fantasy booking you had that did not come true then.
Yeah.
Or cannot come true now.
I thought of it during the match, and I was like, okay, because I was like, I don't know where people go from here. And then I was like, oh, no, that would work. And then we could just tie this all up neatly. But then
they
Wardlow
disappointed
won.
you.
I think Wardlow did need to win, though, thinking back on it. I mean, he had to get revenge on this guy for like disrespecting his relationship with his father and all this stuff. So.
You hear that, Tony Khan? We actually think you're really smart.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the next match because it's a 4-way tag team match for the AEW World Tag Team Championship.
That's great.
This was a great match. I enjoyed it very much. I was a little disappointed with the outcome, but, the Guns retained. But then, in a nice little twist, FTR made their big return.
Yeah. I thought they were going to come back to like be in this match, but it makes more sense to just do this match and then have them.
Yeah. And I guess this is so that they didn't have to take the belts off the Acclaimed that everybody loves.
Yeah, or they didn't have to have the Acclaimed lose to FTR, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I got you. The FTR wouldn't take the belts off them. Yeah, the Guns have also improved quite a bit. I mean, they have impressed me during the short title reign. I think they've been really good. They were good in this match.
Yeah, they've been good sports about everything, too.
Yeah, they clearly know what they're doing. They're pretty, like, naturally good at it, too, considering how short of a time they've been wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I think Austin's been wrestling since, like, 2017, which I guess is a while ago now, but a lot of that time was in, like, the pandemic and stuff, so he couldn't even wrestle in front of crowds. And then Colton, I think, has only been wrestling for, like, 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
So
wow.
It's incredible. I mean, they grew up around it. So
yeah.
But
then the main thing about this pay-per-view that we should talk about, unless you have something else to say about the 4-way tag team.
I was just gonna say two things about that. As much crap as we give Jeff Jarrett, this run is pretty great because he's just so good at being so hateable. He's one of the people in the they probably give him too much TV time, and I am afraid he's gonna like win a title that he doesn't deserve at some point. But he's so ready for people to just totally shit on him all the time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
For creating TNA, and just he's like very receptive to it, and he's not, he's been really good.
So you love Jeff Jarrett.
Also, I love Orange Cassidy and Danhausen. They didn't need to be in this match, but when I saw them both wearing black, I was like, they should be a tag team called Black Denim.
Well, you know why they needed
Black
to be in
Denim,
the match,
that's
right?
the name.
They needed to be in the match because Danhausen's the one who got pinned.
Yeah.
And Danhausen is kind of a perfect wrestler in the sense that I feel like he can always be the one to take the pin.
Yeah.
Because it does nothing to his character.
Yeah, well, he always he's not popular because he's so big and tough.
Yeah.
I think actually I'm pretty sure watching this somebody said something like, "But who takes the pin in this match?" I think I said Danhausen, and they were like, "Oh yeah, that's true." Yeah.
Of course. He's built for the pin.
Yeah.
And now we can talk about the big main event that I'm eager to get to.
Big baby boy.
This was the thing. It was an hour-long Iron Man match.
It was an hour and 5 minutes and 20 seconds.
That's more than an hour. Oh,
I know.
Right, because they went to sudden death. They went into overtime, ladies and gentlemen.
And we found out that Tony Khan has no way to contact the referee or the ring announcer from backstage.
He has no way unless he tasked Tony Schiavone himself to walk down from the announcer's booth to ringside to talk to the officials. There's no way for Tony Khan to get in touch with them.
That's what we've established.
This is canon now.
Maybe he was in the bathroom and he only had like his phone on him or something, and he was watching the pay-per-view.
And he called Tony Schiavone's headset.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. He has the number to that.
Yeah.
He's the only man with the number to the headset.
No, but this was a great match.
It was fantastic.
MJF did a great job of weaving comedy through it, I felt, which is what I appreciate him for and what I admire him for as a wrestler is how funny he is. And he wove a lot of jokes into this. He threw a drink on a kid.
Yeah, like a real kid.
A real kid. He threw a drink on a child. And then he pretended he was going to throw Bryan Danielson into the crowd, and he made people get out of the way. And then he spun Danielson around and put him back in the ring and then flicked everybody off in the audience. That was pretty funny. And he kept calling out Dave Meltzer, which was pretty funny.
Yeah, he kept doing like, "Is that going to cost me a star, Dave?"
That was pretty great.
And he's also fantastic in the ring. I mean, he looked great in this match. I mean, not that I didn't think he would be able to keep up with Bryan Danielson and everything. He just he can. That's what makes him even more hateable. Is like he can do everything.
Yeah,
it's not a situation where he's like, hated because he like can't do it. He can do everything, and he just like chooses to not or like.
Yeah, he actually is that good.
Yeah,
that's
it's like
what's so infuriating.
It's like
about
when you're getting
him.
bullied by somebody who's like, "I'm better than you, and I have all this stuff that's better than you," and you're like, "You are."
Oh crap!
Shoot,
he is better than me. Oh no! I mean, to be fair, he does cheat.
Yeah, no, he cheated.
I mean, I don't recognize hitting someone with an oxygen tank as cheating, but other people do.
You watch too many XSW matches. I think that's the issue.
Well, if a prop shows up in the ring, you're allowed to hit people with it. I think that's the rules of wrestling, personally.
Chekhov's oxygen tank.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If you bring an oxygen tank of all things to bring to an injured man,
they
in
never
a ring,
bring that.
I know. I'd never seen it before. It's like, why on earth would they need to bring him an oxygen tank? Is he drowning?
Yeah, that's true. He was drowning in sweat and blood. He was covered in blood. He was doing full like Southern like Memphis wrestling blood. He's so animated too.
Yeah.
And then Bryan Danielson was his usual amazing self in this match. I went into this thinking there was a 0% chance that Bryan Danielson was going to win. I figured they would get me a little bit at some points, and it went on for so long, and there was a little bit of uncertainty that I was like, maybe he wins it back right away or something. It sucks sometimes with wrestling when you like watch it so much that you start to like understand booking and stuff, and like how you it sucks when you watch so much wrestling that you try to like understand booking and all this stuff, and it kind of makes it harder to like just enjoy watching it and rooting for your favorites, because you're like, well, MJF needs to keep the title, he's on a good title reign. You're thinking about it from like a business perspective and a storytelling perspective. It's just weird. It's like if you were watching football and you were like, yeah, I mean the Chiefs, this would be a better story, than the Eagles or whatever, and you're like, so for business sense.
Yeah.
There was something else I was going to say. Oh, my one note about this match. There's supposed to be a little bit of time between the falls, like 30 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
Because MJF just pinned him twice immediately, and it was like, there should have been like a little bit. They had like 4 falls.
But I liked it, though, because it was action-packed. It allowed them to do those quick spots where you didn't quite know it was going to happen. You thought something could happen really quickly,
Yeah, it was
So I kind of like that, because you already know it has to go an hour. So I feel like with this match, pacing is tricky.
Yeah.
Because you don't want it to go... You don't want there to be pauses, because then everybody knows nothing's going to happen in that pause.
There never really were pauses, and it did feel like anything could happen at any moment, because the match will continue.
Yeah.
So it did feel like anybody could like get a fall at any moment. They did more than almost any other Iron Man match I've ever seen. This was like very action packed. There was because like the most famous Iron Man match before this was Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart, which I've never watched all of, but it's a similar thing. It's over an hour because they do overtime because it ties, but it tied at 0 falls. So it was just an hour match with no falls, which is like in front of a crowd, a WWF crowd in 1996. So they're not used to watching that kind of stuff. And it's like they had it, they wrestle. It's theoretically like a masterpiece and they do it really well, but it's also like kind of boring because they don't, nothing really happens for an hour.
Yeah.
We can talk about Ring of Honor.
Ring of Honor weekly show.
That's right, the debut.
With the other lady who could theoretically be in the WWE heel faction, Athena.
Yeah, Athena, the ROH Women's World Champion.
Yeah, my favorite part of the show was Willow challenging her to a title match on this coming show. So that'll be on Friday on the Ring of Honor TV show. It's on
Thursday.
Thursdays. It's on Thursdays.
7 to 9 p.m.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Eastern Time on Honor Club.
On Honor Club.
On Honor.
Which is a streaming service you can get.
That's right. It's Ring of Honor streaming service. It existed before Tony Khan bought it. Then it went away for a while, and now it's back. When they do...
Thank you, Tony.
When they do... Thank you, Daddy Tony.
Thank you.
When they do post it, it's airs as though it's live, so you can't like rewind it or pause it while it's on like that Thursday 7 to 9 period.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize that, and I tuned in at like a little after 8, and I had to go rewatch the first half of it later. But if you watch after it's done, it's just on because they taped them all already. But it was a fun show. It felt like sort of a really important episode of Dark Elevation.
I was just
going to
say the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's one of the smaller crowd.
I watched a lot of Dark Elevation. It felt a lot like that. It was like a lot of the same people, and
Yeah, it's like the Trustbusters are in there.
Yeah, the Trustbusters without Sunny Kiss, which disappointed me because it's like, what's the point?
Yeah. But they were there, and it was like ROH people and then people that are really good on AEW that haven't, like Willow, that haven't been getting a ton of time. Willow was getting a lot of time on AEW for a while, but now I think is shifted to ROH. I think that's fine for a while if you want to feature somebody down there.
Well,
for
she
a little
can't
bit,
like
and
this is the thing that Willow's stuck in that problem I love to bring up, which is when you only book 2 women's matches a show or a week, then people like Willow who aren't in a storyline, where do they go? What do? They can't do anything. They have to go be on another show.
Yeah, they got to go to literally another company.
Because they're going to have a Jade match, and they're going to have a Tony Storm, Jamie Hayter match.
And the Jade match
and those are your 2 women's matches. So everybody else is...
And the Jade match cannot involve someone from the roster.
Yeah, so everybody else on the roster just doesn't, unless they're in one of those 2 storylines, can't get any, because there's 2 belts and 2 matches. So it's like, that's it.
There were 2.
That's why you need more women's matches to be booked and another women's belt. Maybe women's tag team titles.
That would be great.
Some women's tag team titles.
I would love some women's tag team titles.
I love some women's tag team titles. You know me.
Women's tag team titles with also a mid-card women's title.
There'd be a lot of women's titles.
That'd be great. And then you could rotate around. You know what I mean? So
then you could have at least 3 women's matches. A week.
I mean, that's like half the show.
Yeah.
You know, they don't really do more than like 6 matches, most Dynamites, right? But they had 2 women's matches on this episode of Ring of Honor, which is probably more women's. That's got it. I honestly think that is the record for the most women's matches on a single Ring of Honor show. Yeah. ROH, for as great as it is and for as important as it is to wrestling history, not so with women's wrestling. Mm-hmm. They've had women's championships. I've heard it described that their women's division felt like it was court ordered, like they had no choice. They used to work really closely with Shimmer, which is a big promotion, a big women's promotion, and they also have Shine now as another spinoff of that one. But Shimmer was kind of like the sister promotion of ROH, and they would have like Shimmer matches on old ROH shows. But this one was, it was good. Willow was in one of them against Lady Frost, who I've seen a lot about in Impact, but I hadn't actually watched her.
Oh, yeah, Lady Frost.
And she was really good. They had a great match.
I think I follow her on Instagram.
They were really good. They had a great match. And then for some reason, I'm blanking on what the other women's match was.
Don't look at me like that. I don't. You're supposed to be the big nerd.
I am the big nerd.
Cool. I was on a yoga retreat all weekend, so I didn't get to watch any of this live. I caught up on all of it in the last day.
That's true.
That's actually impressive.
That is, and I'm a little worried about you.
I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm going to be fine. I can meditate.
Do it right now.
Watch. The Dow's going to crash 50 points tomorrow.
What?
That's what happens when you meditate. You can predict the future.
Sell. You floated up.
Did I really?
Yeah, you were floating.
Wow, that's pretty cool. That's a new power I've unlocked.
Is that a work or a shoot?
On me?
Yeah, you had to
because I had my eyes closed?
Yeah, you had to figure it out.
Wow, it's like a wrestling show going on in my mind.
Am I working you or shooting you?
Oh my gosh, that's a nice way of, really actually a worse way of asking me if you're gaslighting me.
You? Yeah, I was going to say. Your Honor, look, in my defense, it was a shoot, it was a work. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we like the Ring of Honor show.
We did like the Ring.
We recommend it.
I think it's got a lot of promise. The main event was great. Claudio Castagnoli defending.
Oh yeah, that was good.
The ROH World Title against AR Fox.
Yeah.
That was great.
Why don't we just Google the card? We did that for Revolution.
I felt like Revolution was easier to find.
Are we saying that ROH isn't as important? All we can do is Google ROH TV. And hope that Google knows what we mean.
Oh my God.
He Googled the word results, ladies and gentlemen. Just the word results.
It should come up. What else is anybody talking about?
I know we make fun of, like, sometimes you'll laugh at your parents when they do things like, Google the word results, but it can happen to a young person too.
It can. Oh yeah, Mark Briscoe was there. He defeated Slim J.
Oh yeah, Mark Briscoe. With Smart Mark Sterling was with.
That's right. Yeah. And then the Kingdom, they just got out of ROH, and here they are right back in it. They defeated the Infantry, Sean Dean, who is undefeated against MJF.
I forget about the Kingdom and Maria Kanellis Bennett.
Yeah. The Kingdom are fun. I mean, I think they could be a good tag team in AEW.
What's their thing? Like, I can't really tell what their thing is.
Well, when Matt Taven first came into ROH 10 years ago, he literally was like a Pauly Shore. He looked like Pauly Shore. He didn't say that, I'm the Witsa, but he was like, he looked like Pauly Shore and dressed like Pauly Shore. And then he turned heel and joined Truth Martini's House of Truth.
Ooh.
And basically they were just like, they just like to party and have sex was like their thing.
Yeah.
And it was pretty, their theme song was, ladies, take your pants off. Fellas, take your pants off. Everybody take your pants off.
That's good.
It was great. I really loved it. And I really enjoyed Matt Taven. And Truth Martini was great. And then I think it was that Adam Cole had turned heel. And then he eventually started a faction with Matt Hardy, who was also becoming a heel, called the Kingdom. And then Matt Taven ended up joining that and then sort of took it over. They don't really have like a gimmick. I mean, Mike Bennett was always just a guy who was in ROH who you would just expect to be in WWE, especially 10 years ago, 11 years ago. He was just like a jacked guy that looked like this guy should be in, on Raw. And people just like kind of didn't like him. But they don't really have like a hard gimmick. As many indie wrestlers do not.
I see. I wasn't sure if the Kingdom was a reference to anything. And I know they have that really beautiful Marie. What's her last name? I said it earlier.
Maria Kanellis.
Kanellis. That's what it is.
She's
great. But she shows up and she goes like this, and then they come out.
Yeah.
But with both arms. I can't do it with both arms because I'm holding the mic. But she does this. But imagine this arm's out too. And she does this.
Both.
Like that.
Like,
yeah. Thank you for
welcome.
putting it together. Okay, that's what she looks like. And then they come out.
So she's great. She's an old WWE legend. Yeah. She was a diva, a classic diva. But yeah, well, they also, I forgot about this. You hear about this NJPW World Television Championship match? Zack Sabre Jr., my guy, defending against All Farts Blake Christian.
All farts.
Yeah, and it was bizarre because he was wrestling as just like a regular full babyface, and he was not. I couldn't accept it anymore.
Yeah.
But it was a really good match. They had a great match, and it was a different type of opponent than Zack Sabre Jr. often wrestles because he's a big high flying guy.
Yeah. That's
Paul
great.
Blart, Blake Christian, and that was a match I would recommend. That in the main event. Christopher Daniels versus Rohit Raju. I liked Rohit a little bit that I saw him in Impact, former X Division champion, and he had. Like an open challenge while he was the X Division champion there, called Defeat Rohit, and that was fun. So I remember
it rhymes.
And Christopher Daniels is an ROH original. He's a little older. I don't know how much stuff he's in. Oh, Konosuke Takeshita versus Josh Woods. I think this is a great platform for Takeshita. I think Takeshita could be really big here before they, because he's on AEW a lot, but this is a good spot to showcase him. So that was great, and then. The Embassy, which is the 6-man tag champs, versus Joe Keys, Rex Lawless, and the Monster Factory's LSG.
Yeah, Monster Factory.
That's right. I have no
Coming
idea.
out March 17th. They announced it.
You
March
wrote about it.
March 17th on Apple TV. I wrote up the trailer. Watch Monster Factory.
Remember, it's not on Banana Radio. It's on Apple TV.
That's a really good one. They should pay you to do that.
All right. Ari Davari.
If we see that in any Apple ads, we're going to sue.
I swear to God.
We're going to sue your little Apple asses off.
That's right. It's not in the orange newspaper. It's on Apple TV. Ari Davari defeated Metalik. Metalik was he's Mascara Dorada. He was in WWE as Grand Metalik, and then he left and he was back to Mascara Dorada.
He was no longer Grand.
No, and now he's back to just Metalik, and I liked Mascara Dorada. I don't know. Maybe he's doing it because he was like, well, people knew me from WWE as this Metalik thing. He can't be Grand Metalik because that's copyrighted. So now he's doing this, but he lost, which I thought was weird. But the King of the Ropes, but he gets screwed. It was interference, and then.
Yes.
Then it was the main event, or no? Then it was the women's match that I couldn't remember. Oh, it was Madison Rain. I remember that.
And you gotta close the little thing.
Oh right.
Don't you?
Shoot. Oh boy, we are out of control.
This guy doesn't know how to use a computer. Remember when he Googled the word results?
I thought it would come up with something. I mean, what else?
What other events that have results would have happened between last Thursday and now?
Sometimes you just gotta cast a wide net and you sift through it. It would have been there eventually. Sky Blue and Madison Rain versus Charlotte and Robin Renegade. The Renegades.
I remember this.
The Renegades are really good. I like them. They were also screaming at the ref like they're not both legal. Ref, like it's 1 in, 1 out. And Sky Blue, by the way, I know we talk about the AEW women not getting enough TV. I don't think anybody outside of like Soraya, Toni Storm, and Britt Baker get as much TV time as Sky Blue. There's nothing against Sky Blue. She's pretty green.
Yeah.
But she's.
I see her a lot.
On everything.
I see her a lot.
She's like, maybe it's because she's like the number one like kind of jobber person, or like the person that can like take pins. But I see her a lot.
Okay, so now we're gonna go to the phones. We have a caller on John and Ann's Wrestling Podcast here to talk about WWE's Raw. Is none other than Casey James Salengo,
Comedy's own.
Comedy's own.
Hello, I'm Comedy's own, but no one owns me. I'm a free man and a free spirit, and I love wrestling. Thanks for having me on the pod.
Of course.
Thanks
You're an independent contractor.
Thanks for being our first caller, Casey. This means a
I'm
lot.
the first caller? Why, because everyone else does camera?
Yeah, no, you're just our first caller ever in general.
We've never had a guest on.
This is our first time.
Oh, this is like, what an honor. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you were our first text to ask someone to call in. So.
Yeah. This is great.
To beg someone.
Both of you. And I've been loving your articles.
Thank you.
Truly incredible. I'm very jealous of you. But John, been loving your friendship for the past 10 years.
That's good. And what about my my accomplishments and my creative stuff?
Let's
when you remember we'll talk about that later.
No.
We'll talk about that later.
Joke about the three-way baseball game.
Thank you for thinking of something.
Yeah.
No, I think you're funny, John.
Thank you. No, I'm just giving you crap. All right, we're hanging up.
Okay. Well, first we want to talk about WWE Raw, Casey. You're a Raw fan. We're not particular huge fans of Raw, but from what I understand, you are a fan of Raw. Can you expand on that?
Don't put that on me.
You're a Raw apologist, right?
I would not declare myself a Raw fan. It's a pretty bad show. I've been a WWE fan since I was like 4 or 5 years old, and I've been watching Raw ever back in the day. I just hope my mom would pass out so I could watch it because we only had one TV.
Mm-hmm.
When I was about 13, I got a TV in my room, and baby, I was watching Raw every week.
Never came out.
But now I don't watch it very much because it's honestly pretty painful to sit through, and it makes me deeply depressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of how I've compared it to like nihilism a lot in the past.
Yeah.
Where it just nothing matters at all. I've been watching it more recently because of this, and I have to say it's a little better, but it's such a low bar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is. I was talking with you about this, John, about how I don't know what it is about Raw. I try to watch sometimes. I get all excited. I'm like, I'm home on a Monday, nothing going on. Let me pop it on. And then, like 20 minutes in, I just feel like an overwhelming sense of sadness about nothing in particular. And I feel like it's just even like the color scheme, it just like brings back bad feelings where I feel like even if anything good happened, I wouldn't be able to recognize it because it's just this crashing wave of depression, which is strange because in fact I like SmackDown more. I watch that, and I can notice good matches and segments on SmackDown. There's a lot of them, and I've got a lot of great memories of watching SmackDown. Like I remember Undertaker versus Kurt Angle. It was the 4th of July.
Oh
I
yeah.
was outside lighting off fireworks, and I stayed inside and missed the fireworks, and that's where I think Kurt, he had him in the Go-Go Plata, the Hell's Gate.
Oh yeah.
No, so Kurt Angle, so Undertaker tapped, but Kurt Angle got pinned at the same time. I think it was the first time Undertaker ever tapped. Or the SmackDown 6.
Oh yeah.
Was a great time. I've got so many great memories of SmackDown. For Raw, I remember when Triple H turned on Shawn Michaels. And like the pipe bomb. That's about it.
When was the last time you watched? When's
Yeah.
the last time you watched an episode of Raw, Casey?
So I watched some. I watched some clips this week. Last week, I did tune in for a minute. I realized it's so wild. Younger me would be so upset to be like, "You're home.
You're not watching Raw."
I'd be disgusted.
What are you doing?
I don't know. So I realized it was like 8:30. I was like, I'm literally have nothing else going on. So I popped on Raw, and it just wasn't fun. It wasn't fun.
it's just never it. I think there's something to the color scheme because I think red is just a weird like the SmackDown blue does just feel better. I don't.
Yeah, it's soothing in some way. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's Friday, even though you're not necessarily watching it when it's happening, but it just feels
Yeah.
like it's more chill. And Raw's like the beginning of the week. I don't know. I think it's also just that because like Raw has well SmackDown's also had that thing where the SmackDown 6 like you were talking about in 2002 at the beginning of every brand extension in 2002 and 2016 SmackDown was good. It was creatively good. It was satisfying. There were stories. There was purpose. All those SmackDown pay-per-views that they did from every episode of SmackDown because I was watching it because at my job at the time I could watch TV while I worked, so I watched like every Raw and SmackDown. Like those matches all had like purpose and everything like everything was different. And then they always would kill SmackDown for some reason. They would come in and like rip it apart, take out everything that was good about it, take out whoever was booking it, and then because they wanted Raw to be like the flagship show. And it's just this weird thing where they would like I think SmackDown to them almost represented WCW because I think that was the idea. Is they wanted it to be WWF and WCW, and then it just became Raw and SmackDown. And I think that just like Vince thinks of SmackDown as WCW or something, and he's like, I can't let it be bigger than Raw.
Yeah, when they do like the brand warfare, it's like, they're pitting Raw to be the good guys because it's Vince's baby, even if it's internal and doesn't make any sense. But yeah, even with the initial brand split, I remember like SmackDown's top guys like Rey Mysterio, Edge, Eddie Guerrero, Kurt Angle. Another guy we want to talk about was a big fan of.
Another guy that broke my heart.
Broke my heart, made me cry on a beach.
Yep.
Wait, which guy was that? Which one?
Mr. Christopher Benoit. Yeah.
Oh, that's what I was gonna guess, but then I thought maybe it was CM Punk. I
mean,
no,
well,
I would not say CM Punk's name because he's an asshole.
Yeah, CM Punk also. Though he did also break my heart a little bit. When you put it in the perspective, when you're comparing it to Chris Benoit, I think I could forgive CM Punk. I think
I'd say they're pretty comparable, honestly.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
but Raw's top guys were like X-Pac and Bradshaw and Bubba Ray Dudley.
I do remember that.
Like, what the fuck is this?
That whole brand extension when they first did it, they like didn't understand that they needed to have equal titles on both shows. So they had like the world title was like the undisputed title was on both shows, but then like I think like one show had like the I think Raw had like all the other championships. They had like the IC title, the European title, the hardcore title, and the tag team title. Or no, the SmackDown had the tag titles, I think. And like
SmackDown got tag titles introduced when they had that great tag title tournament.
Yes, that's right.
I remember the video package of her introduced when they did SmackDown.
The tag team legend Stephanie McMahon.
But yeah, and then they all got absorbed by like RVD. They just did a bunch of matches with like Kane and RVD.
Yeah.
And just like that's when they brought all the titles into like one title, which that's like too. I love titles. People always complain about too many titles. Sure, but I think it's fun. You know,
I think it's good.
Titles are the point of the thing, right?
It gives people something to do.
Yeah.
That's what we're all
There's
doing.
There's a reason to be doing something. I don't know. When people get mad that it's like too many titles doesn't mean anything. None of this means anything. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's like if there's a reason, the title change is very exciting. So do it.
Yeah.
Raw was like, it was never fun. There's some matches with Christian Randy Orton, I remember, that I was very excited about.
That was one of my favorite, yeah.
Yeah, that was so fun.
But that always felt like in spite of it.
Hardy stuff. What's that?
Oh, yeah. No, I was going to say that, like, whenever there was something good, and Undertaker Jeff Hardy stuff was great. There's never anything, like, it always feels like something good is happening in spite of Raw. Like, it broke through, you know, like, this isn't supposed to, that's like what the Bloodline feels like, even though it's, like, their main thing. It just always feels like this is happening despite their best efforts.
That's true, yeah. Any good stuff, any really good stuff that happens in WWE feels like an accident that this is not where they were going, but like the fans kind of steered them in the right direction. But yeah, I'm wondering if Raw just like got a color change, maybe, you know, fresh coat of paint, some fun different music, graphics, maybe I'd love it again. Because I still
pink
like
Raw
now. I see like these Gunther matches and they're fantastic. If
they
that was
are
on Raw, I'm like, would I even think this was good? I don't know what's going on in my brain.
Yeah. I just zone out a lot of times on Raw. And then, like, what was it that happened this week? Yeah, well, so
With Logan Paul or
Oh yeah, Logan Paul. I mean, there was a few things.
God.
Well, so there's Logan Paul happened, which
Mhm.
it's weird because when they do this thing where they have somebody who's genuinely unlikable and they have them play the heel, it's like, yeah, but I still don't want to watch him at all.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's not like a good heel or like, oh, he's good at his job. And no, it's like I hate this guy. And I guess that's an argument. That's an argument in our group chat. We have a group chat
Yeah.
full of men between the ages of 35 and 50
Yeah.
that talk about wrestling all day long. You get some real heated arguments.
Sounds exciting.
And I guess that's what I was talking about with Jeff Jarrett, where it's like, what is a good heel in this day and age? Is it like a guy like Jeff Jarrett that I am booing because I don't want him on my TV and he's taking up time from people that could be using that time better, I feel? So it's like, it's going over the smart heads because you really hate this guy, or is a good heel someone who's good at being a heel so you like them? What's real? I guess the heel's job is to make you hate them. So to have an actual good heel in this day and age, you need someone like Logan Paul and Jeff Jarrett, I guess, because people actually fucking hate them.
I mean, I'll say that, famously my favorite wrestler, my favorite heel right now is MJF.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the reason
but he's good.
Yeah, he's so good. And I feel like that is what makes him a good heel, is that he's so fun to hate. And so you have fun watching him even though you hate him, and it's not like where it's like I'm not rooting for him to fail like I am with Logan Paul in a way that makes me feel bad inside, because I don't want to be a person who roots for people to fail. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then you see somebody and you're like, I don't want them here. Then you feel bad.
Sure. So you're a little newer to wrestling, Angela, correct?
Yeah, I am. So maybe I have more of a tender heart than I should.
Well, no, I'm interested in what your experience is, because you are, now you're figuring out the heel. It's like heat versus go away heat.
Yeah, that's true.
But people have worked. All the fans have worked themselves up so much, knowing everything that's going on. That I don't know. I think go away heat is the only genuine heat you can build. But MJF is so good, but he's getting to the point where he's honestly pissing me off now for real sometimes.
Really?
Yeah.
Like throwing that drink in that kid's face. That's probably an expensive drink. You don't know that kid. That seems like a lot.
Yeah, come on.
Didn't you say they mentioned that at the scrum, John?
They did. They were talking about that. They said we're taking it very seriously. We giving him free tickets to Dynamite. He's going to be at Dynamite. Like, they were really, I can't tell if I'm being worked, which I like.
That kid might be in the show now.
It was a little weird that kid was like sitting while everyone else was standing, and he had a hood on. Like he had a hood on as though he was a wrestler that was disguised, but he also was clearly a child.
Yeah.
So I don't know who.
I thought it was fun because I thought if you're a kid in the front row at a wrestling show, man, you want to get hit with drinks, don't you?
Yeah, I feel like he probably threw it on him because he was sitting down too. Honestly.
Yeah. No, I agree. If I was a kid, I would love that. But now I get some of the age where I'm thinking from the parents' perspective, where I'm like, that was probably a $15 tequila soda.
Yeah.
The kid smells like tequila.
Yeah.
Hey, a certain amount of money for drinks here? What the fuck?
I was trying to get my son drunk? What is this?
That is fair. I did think about that too. I was like, if I bought an alcoholic beverage in an arena, I would be really mad if somebody...
Some rich asshole.
Well, because Jungle Boy did that with a guy's beer too when he was walking down the
Didn't that guy
stairs.
give it to him?
No, he just had it held out because he was like recording on his phone, and he was holding his beer out too next to his phone, and Jungle Boy just grabbed it and poured it over Christian.
Maybe he's...
all right. Well, I guess that's fun, but still, as someone who doesn't go to many wrestling shows because I end up spending $200 on booze, I would be upset. I would be upset at that point.
Yeah, for sure. But it was the end of the night. She probably wasn't going to be able to get another one.
Yeah, the bar's probably closed.
The thing, it shuts down. You're like, I'm going to run up and get another drink. You're like, no, we're closed. I'm like, I fucking hate you forever, John.
Yeah.
And you have like 35 minutes left in the match for a fact.
So you got to sit here with your wet son.
I'd be so mad. These places that stop selling drinks halfway in, like, what are you doing? You don't want money?
Yeah.
They hate money.
Anyway, sorry. It's
more
about my alcoholism than wrestling.
I was saying before that I liked that Jeff Jarrett, that he was. I I like how much he's embracing just being absolutely hated, and he is performing really well. But you do bring up a good point that it's like we don't really need him. They have such a huge roster, and I want to see. I'm not opposed to guys who are a little older being on the show, but it's just like we got all these good heels that are around that aren't necessarily like getting to do anything, and it's like they could send him into ROH and they could do stuff there, but it's like I wanted to be on AEW as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not anti Jeff Jarrett. I think I was excited when he came back. I think he's incredible what kind of shape he's in.
Yeah.
At his age, I liked him. Slapnuts era. Whenever he was deriding him as a main eventer, I've always kind of liked him, but it's just the fact is he's being used so much, and there's so many guys.
I know
that aren't being used, and not in a way where it feels like they're being cycled through. In a way, it feels like they're just being forgotten about.
Yeah, we were talking about this with the women's division a lot, where there's a lot of there's so little women's content on Dynamite sometimes, and then it's
and then somebody like Willow has to go to ROH because if you're Willow, it doesn't matter how good a wrestler you are if you're not in the Toni Storm Saraya storyline or you're not going up against Jade. There's nowhere for you to go.
Yeah.
So it's you have to just leave.
I feel like Willow has enough talent and enough, the fans really love her that she's going to break through eventually. Is ROH going to have a women's division? I thought ROH is famously not for women at all.
They do have a women's title.
They changed
Athena
their ways.
is the champion.
Athena's their champion, and Willow's just challenging her for it. So
yeah.
All right.
They do have. They don't. It's never been their focus, but they have it. And Athena versus Willow will be a great match. So I mean, they had 2 women's matches on the first episode of ROH. So again, I think that is probably a record for the most women's matches ever on a Ring of Honor show.
Well, we should talk about Raw, even though none of us watched the full thing.
Now that we've given AEW all these notes, let's talk about the greatest wrestling show.
I just want to make sure we get to it so that we don't completely fail to mention it outside of saying it's bad.
Well, so you had some thoughts on the Bloodline story.
Well, I've got,
You can say your thoughts. You don't have to.
I'm saying my thoughts.
Okay.
I'm used to Scotland shutting me down in a group chat, so and all you guys backing them up and no one being on my side. So
yeah,
wow. I'm gonna tell Scotland you said that.
He'll listen to it, and we can fight in the group chat.
I told him. Scotland runs the group chat, and when I try to step to his tower, everyone shuts me down. But anyway.
Wow, we're cutting promos for the group chat on this podcast.
We're building to Wrestle Pals Mania here.
Huge.
I'm trying to get the pals over.
You got it.
Yeah, the Bloodline. It's strange because I think it's been a beautiful story all throughout. I think the end of the Royal Rumble is maybe one of the best storytelling moments I've seen in wrestling ever. It was incredible. And I think the Sammy turn was great, and the heat he was getting was great. The excitement he was getting. It's just from what I've seen the past few weeks on Raw, I understood it building up to the match with Roman Reigns that he was, trying to convince the other members of the Bloodline to not be in there. His buddies, Jimmy and Jay, trying to get out. That made sense. And now that he lost the match, it just feels weird that he's still trying to get these guys to turn against their cousin. It feels like Teddy, kind of. It's like he's saying to them, Roman's just using you, all this stuff. But it's like, you also used Roman. You kind of weaseled your way into this family thing.
Yeah.
Because, you wanted more TV time, and it worked. Because you were a heel when it went down, and now that you're a face. I also hate when people's worldviews completely flip when they go from face to heel because, it just seems disingenuous. So now that he's a face, he's kind of being like, you need to get out. He's so obsessed with, breaking this family up. And then I was kind of on when he kicked Sammy in the face, and it was like, you think I'm gonna leave for you? This is my family. I was like, that makes complete sense.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a good point.
No, I actually agree with you, Casey. I've thought it's kind of weird too, because no matter where they go with the Jay stuff or anything like that, I'm always sitting there going, but he's he's in their family though.
Yeah.
Like it's not like they're buds. They're literally a family. They can't just suddenly be like. I mean, I guess I should know from. I guess I shouldn't think so highly of family bonds, but like
You can leave your family.
I mean, yeah. But
Millions of fathers have done it.
My family's not great either, but their family is great. And as shitty as Roman is, of course they're gonna, be aligned with him. They've been friends with Sammy for 6 months.
Yeah.
You'd be a pretty shitty cousin if you just gave up on your championship family to hang out with this guy you've been friends with 6 months who loses all the time.
Yeah, with your French Canadian friend.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, no, you bring up some good points there because I do feel like up through the Roman thing, it was very well justified, and now I think it still is okay, but it could use a little bit more justification, or at least maybe like a Kevin Owens or somebody being like, look, man, it's over. Why don't you just give it up? You know what I mean? So at least that somebody's calling attention to that. Like, why is he still going after this? I mean, because there is an element of like they are still a little bit aggressive towards him. But if that's the case, if it's them pushing the aggression, then I think Sammy needs to be like, look, you know what? Forget it. It's over. Just leave me alone. Like something like that. So it's not him.
No, but it's just, at a certain point, it's like, why is your life's goal to get this other grown man to, change his life? It's like, why don't you focus on your own thing? So maybe now this officially, Jay has sided with Bloodline, they can tweak the feud a little bit and have more Kevin Owens because I think they need him to really explain because his lifelong friendship with Sammy makes way more sense. And now they can just tweak the feud from now on, and now it's not just him weirdly just trying to break this family up. Now it's just more about them battling and for the tag team titles, and I think hopefully it'll be more fun and make more sense and get back to the root of what it all was when it started.
Yeah. The one thing I like about this, though, with Sammy constantly trying to break up this family, is it kind of feels a little bit like he's Regina Georging Roman Reigns. Do you remember in Mean Girls when they made that list?
Oh, yeah.
And they were like, what does she have? A killer body and an army of skanks or something. And it just feels like...
Isn't that a podcast?
It feels like they're just like, let's get rid of all the things that make him strong. His cousins, like maybe he'll cut his hair or something later, and we can have a big hair fight.
Oh my God.
Like
it did kind of make sense too when he was trying to break up the bloodline before the title match because it seemed like he was trying to take away Roman's power so that he'd be more beatable.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like he's trying to just break Roman's world apart.
Yeah, but I do think he genuinely. Is the character. I do feel like he genuinely had a connection with Jay and was like, actually, I do think his character. I think the idea is that he weaseled his way in for clout, but he actually did really like all of them, and he liked. Yeah. And he was tricked into liking Roman because Roman made him feel like he was accepted and all this stuff, and so he felt genuinely hurt, especially by Jay, who was the one that it was the hardest for him to.
Absolutely, I understand all that, but it is like what Ham said. It is very, I said that earlier, it's very middle schoolish that you're still doing that.
Yeah,
and I get that,
especially in a hoodie.
You develop real feelings for these guys, but it was what, 6 months?
Yeah.
It's you seem like a toxic person if you,
a
middle school friendship is friends with someone for 6 months, and then they don't want to hang out with you anymore, and you just try to destroy their lives.
You try to get their brothers to move out.
You try to poison their family and everything.
Yeah.
It's a bit much.
I wonder if we're just getting Vince McMahon's view of the world because he was backstage at Raw this week, according to reports.
Apparently, with a little mustache and dyed hair.
Did he dye his hair?
That's what people are saying, that he dyed his hair and that he had a little mustache. So it does really sound like he was in disguise.
Oh my God! I need to see Vince with a mustache now.
I love that
and he was walking around going, "It's me, Mario." I'm not the Vince. I don't know Vince.
He's more like Waluigi. He's it's funny that he's clearly just going insane. He's clearly just losing his mind.
Yeah. He lost this thing that is the only thing he ever loved and cared about. And now, what do you think he's doing in his free time? Just relaxing? No, he's sitting at home, stealing, and calling Saudi Arabians to complain.
Yeah.
This is his pandemic. He never really had to go through the isolation of the pandemic, and now
It's
he
true.
is, and he's going through what I went through, where you dye your hair a bunch,
Yeah.
and you.
Oh my God! What color was his hair? Like bleach blonde?
I
feel like
hope
he
it was
came
bleach
like
blonde.
Hollywood. He looked like Hollywood Hogan when he came back.
I hope it was bleach blonde. I think it's probably like brown or something. I don't think they said what I read.
Oh,
but,
right, because he's gray anyway, so he probably dyes it anyway, but he just miscalculated.
Yeah, but
or something.
he's had gray hair for like 20 years on television.
Yeah. Well,
He's, like,
Yeah.
I've never seen him with anything other than gray hair, except in like really old WrestleManias and stuff.
Yeah.
I think he started dyeing it right before he left a little bit.
Okay,
He
maybe.
was getting to the point where he started looking like a real Nosferatu-ish type
Yeah.
creature.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
He
that's
always
true.
looked pretty good for a man his age, and now it's just like all crumbling apart. You can't get 4 hours of sleep a night for 40 years. That's gonna catch up with you.
It's also like exercise, like working out is good for you to a point, and then
To a point.
yeah, once you get to a certain age, you can still work out and you can still exercise and like stay in shape and maintain like a level of muscle mass. But I feel like if you're like in your 70s and you're like jacked, like steroid jacked,
that's not good.
something's going on
Yeah,
there, and
and
it says your body's
you
not
should
meant to
transition-
carry that muscle anymore.
You should do yoga. That's like
Yeah.
like Chris Jericho.
Lightlifting.
Yeah, like Jericho.
Anymore.
Yeah.
That's right.
Totally.
Yoga, light lifting and yoga.
Totally.
Yeah, you don't
man.
need to be powerlifting at 75 years old.
Yeah. But do you think he was in the gorilla position apparently all night. People said that he wasn't
Oh,
barking
wow.
any orders, but he was there. It is also, as something Ann keeps pointing out, this guy who was accused of, and I'm sure he was guilty of a lot of terrible things, is just, it's very indicative of the type of stuff that he was accused of, that he is going and just forcing his way back into these situations, and he's just sitting, he's made it, he was asked to leave, and he left, and then he's now just forced his way back in and is sitting there like it's fine, and everybody's just got to be fine with it, no matter how uncomfortable anybody is. And if they say anything, then it's like, well, it's fine. He's here to visit Cena or whatever.
Yeah, it's very much in his character. Anyone who lusts for power on that level is not, they're not right. They're not right in the head. You should be happy at a certain point. People who lust for power at all, anyone who wants any place of prominence in the world, they're sick.
Yeah, I mean that's literally my my thing with, like, I love Star Wars, and it's just like with the prequels, it's just like I don't know why it was so hard to convince the Jedi that the president was evil. That it was like the guy who who's pursuing power is the super villain.
Careful, John. It's a spicy take to have notes for the Star Wars prequels.
Oh,
I am
boy.
probably Go on.
I love the prequels. That's what I want to say.
So do I. I've really grown to love them.
Wow.
But they have, it's the thing that I have notes for sure. I acknowledge all the bad things, but
This is
I
spicy.
still love them.
I saw the first one in the theater 7 times.
Oh my god.
Wow. This is a spicy ep,
Yeah.
folks. We're learning all kinds of stuff.
You
Oh
must
my
edit
gosh.
that out,
Right.
Casey.
Getting off track. But,
All right.
Yeah,
Well-
there's a lot going on.
Yeah. Well, what else happened on Raw this week? Anything good?
So we had
John Cena.
The clips I saw.
Oh, John
So
Cena
the
was
Logan
there.
Logan Paul, they switched. So Seth Rollins is the face in this now. Is this correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Basically?
Yeah.
I think
Well,
Logan
because
Paul.
people hate Logan Paul so much.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he was the face against Miz because Miz had turned on him, and Miz is Miz. And then he was like sort of the face against Roman because Roman is such an asshole. But I think now he's just a heel again, and Rollins is pretty beloved.
Yeah, I think that's great. I'm glad they realized that nobody is gonna. I mean, that's one good thing where you see Vince really isn't there anymore. Is that
Yeah,
they can realize when people are horrible people and people hate them for that.
I mean they did switch
Instead
to
of
their
just not under. What's
to their
that?
credit. They did switch Floyd Mayweather from a babyface to a heel, just based on that one promo where he was just talking about how much money he had, how much more money he had than everybody else, and everybody was like, "This guy is not a good person." And then they made
Absolutely.
him.
This has been my complaint about faces and heels in WWE forever because Vince McMahon's idea of what a good person is so contrary to a normal, logical person.
Yeah, Vince McMahon's
that's
idea of
why
a good
everyone-
person is himself.
What?
Vince McMahon's idea of a good person is him, and that's wrong.
Yes, a bully
Mhm.
who has no friends,
Mhm.
and just hits people, and you get upset with him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that makes sense.
well,
Oh.
so there's that. What else are they building for?
John Cena was back.
Yes.
John
Mm-hmm.
Cena was there, and he had a promo where he told Austin Theory that uh, that he was like, Austin Theory was like, I want you at WrestleMania, and then he refused, and he was like, I'm not going to do it because you're not ready for a match like that, and you haven't like basically was telling me like he hadn't found himself as a performer the way that Cena hadn't when he was like Ruthless Aggression Cena before he was a rapper or something. So basically, he was telling him to get a
Yeah, yeah.
gimmick, and it was a fine promo from Cena. I don't really want him to wrestle Austin Theory, but it's going to happen, and we all knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And we'll see what he's probably going to lose to him.
We'll see. He's been winning some. I mean, how do you feel about Austin Theory? I'm kind of torn because I can't tell if I do see potential. I'm like, there must be something. One thing about Vince McMahon that I did trust is he generally kind of has a vision for when people have, star breakout ability. And if they don't, he would shut them down pretty quickly. Like Roman Reigns, people went against that for years, and it was obvious he was right. John Cena, people went against that for years. Obvious he was right. So I don't know. I'm like, is there something I'm missing in Austin Theory? I haven't seen.
This is how I feel
great
about Austin
matches from
Theory.
him.
That's how you feel about a lot of
feel that way
wrestlers.
too?
I mean, I feel that way about a lot of wrestlers, but Austin Theory is one of the wrestlers that I feel that way about because there's like a certain type of like youngish white like wrestler dude that he just is, and it's like there's like 9 of those guys in every promotion. You know what I mean? And to me, they're sometimes interchangeable. So I think he just kind of blends into the crowd for me.
Yeah, that's true. And we'll always like there'll be somebody on like Dynamite. I'm like, man, I really love this guy, and she'll be like, nah, he seems generic to me, and then I'll sit there heartbroken. But
I mean, that's what I love watching wrestling with someone with fresh eyes because that's kind of the Vince McMahon like star power. It's like someone who's never watched wrestling before.
That's true.
Turn on a show.
That's
who's
true.
the person they're gonna gravitate to, and that was
Yeah.
I don't know if that's awesome too. That's why I realized Otis could be a huge star.
Yeah.
Because I watched wrestling with my whole family, and they fucking hate wrestling. So it got to like 20 minutes, but they loved Otis.
Oh, my family
Everything
loves
else
Otis
they hated,
too.
They loved Otis.
Yeah, your whole family loves Otis. Your sister loves Otis. Your mom loves Otis.
My mom loves Otis.
Everybody loves Otis.
Yeah, I think he's got star power. But yeah, Austin Theory, I'm just like, I don't know. He's not bad in matches. He's not good.
Yeah.
Kind of like, I don't want to say like an Ethan Page. Ethan Page is better at promos, but doesn't fall in the mix.
Ethan Page is
Mike
more.
Bennett.
I think Ethan Page is better than Austin. I'm not like a huge Austin Theory fan either. He is. It's also hard because there were some like allegations with him, so I couldn't during the speaking out thing. So it's already kind of a lost cause, I can't really get invested. But there's definitely like some potential there. I mean, he definitely sees like he looks like a wrestler. Could he be like a world champion? I don't know. He did cut a great promo one time after he lost. I mean, he did cash in the Money in the Bank contract on the U.S. title and just lost. And then he like had a hard. Actually, he had like a hard turn to being this really serious guy, and he had this like really serious promo, and that was really good. And then he just kind of went right back to being the guy who's like a generic heel, like who's cocky and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, I thought we were moving away from this. Why is he back to it? Also, he should shave. I don't like his beard.
His beard is weird.
Yeah.
But it could go either way. He could be, an untapped gem like a John Cena, or he could be like a Jack Swagger who you think is going to develop into something more, and then he's just the same boring son of a bitch.
Yeah, Swagger at least was a little weird, At least Swagger was kind of.
Point of him.
I mean, I don't know. Well, I don't know. We'll see, because this is a real sink or swim situation.
Well, let's move on to something else from Raw then.
Okay.
What else was there?
Well, there was the Trish Stratus and Lita and Becky Lynch.
They beat Damage Control.
Yeah, Lita and Becky Lynch are Lita and Becky Lynch are the women's tag team champions now. They won them last week.
Last Monday, yeah.
Yeah, and then this week they came out with Trish Stratus and they're going to be having a 6-woman tag match against Damage Control at WrestleMania.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, it could be fun. I mean, I liked it's different, I think, when they bring back old women's stars because they didn't get all the main events and stuff. Like when Goldberg comes back, it's like Goldberg's had enough. You know, The Rock's had enough.
Yeah.
Lita and Trish Stratus deserve a little more. You know.
Absolutely. I mean, they were the first women of that generation to actually have main events. I remember when Lita main evented Raw. I think the first one was Stephanie McMahon, and then she had a match with Trish Stratus. That was really great. That was one, as I said, why my mom happened to be watching, and I remember she was really popping for Lita versus Trish Stratus.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I want to see. Did you see how did Trish look? Because Lita, she still looks great, but it's just, it just seems a little. She was never the best wrestler. It was always like that moonsault was always like, is she gonna land on her head? Is this gonna go all the way?
And it's definitely not.
But she makes it.
Definitely not better now that it's definitely not less stressful now that she's 20 years older and not actively wrestling. It did look like in the clips that I saw, she didn't do too much in that match. It seems like Becky worked most of the match, and she basically just did the moonsault. So I don't think and in a 6-woman tag, she's going to have to do even less. So Trish, I think, is still pretty nimble because not that Lita doesn't stay in shape, but Trish is like a yoga, a yoga master.
But yeah, Trish is always a little more like nimble and athletic and crisper in the ring.
And Trish just wrestled that. I mean, it wasn't just, but it was like 3-4 years ago at this point at SummerSlam. She had that match against Charlotte. The long singles match. That match was great.
Oh yeah.
That was a fantastic match.
And I think this is a very exciting feud. I'm pumped about it. I don't know how I feel about Damage Control in general. I just think I kind of think Io Sky deserves a more prominent role instead of just like the third member of a Lackey group.
Yeah.
But I think this could be great. And it's a great use for all of them to get another women's match on the card. I was going to say not based on the title, but it is.
Yeah, that's true. Well, there's also rumors that Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler will get women's tag title shots, like maybe on the next night or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I love Shayna Baszler, so I think
I love Shayna Baszler. I think we might have to wrap it up, but this was fantastic.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you so much for calling us, Casey.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Sorry I rambled a lot. You can't get me talking about wrestling.
No, I mean, I do the same thing.
This is perfect. This is all. It's a podcast. It's nothing but rambling.
Yeah, I mean, we don't. We're not saying anything of note.
What can we plug for our for listeners?
Yeah, my friend I work with.
You can follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Casey James Salengo. We got upcoming road dates. We'll see him.
Okay.
On there, I'll be in Connecticut this.
Coming for Vince.
Saturday.
Ooh.
Down to the Still Hill Brewery. Come to that Saturday.
Still Hill Brewery.
Great.
Other than that, I can't think. Yeah. Talk to me on. Just follow the gram. All right.
Okay, follow the gram.
We'll put the gram on there.
All right.
Yeah. Bye.
All right, I'll see you in the group text, buddy.
Okay, that was Casey James Salengo. He's our friend.
Comedy legend. All right.
And now we'll do the awards.
So, promo of the week.
Wait, hang on. I'm doing the intro. Awards.
It's basically we just do the Wayne's World thing. So the promo of the week. What was your promo of the week?
My promo of the week is MJF's pickle scrum. It was the scrum he did after his title retention in the Iron Man match. He walked in on a crutch like Tiny Tim.
Oh my God, he was so animated.
Screamed in Dave Meltzer's face.
So animated. Covered in blood still.
Made Tony Khan close his eyes in anguish. Offered a member of the press a pickle. Demanded that member of the press eat a pickle. And kept talking about how good the pickles were. Yeah, it was just great. It was wonderful. It was clearly reminiscent of the CM Punk scrum because he looked the same and had pickles instead of cupcakes or whatever it was CM Punk was eating, and he was talking the same way.
He quoted him a couple times.
Yes.
It had like very close lines.
It was just one of those brilliant MJF promos where it's like a parody of wrestling promo you've seen before.
Yeah, and he was like proving that he was like, I can make this work.
Yeah,
because the Punk one didn't really work. It just came off very uncomfortable.
No, he wrestle-fied it. He made it a wrestling gimmick.
Yes,
which is what he is like. I think so brilliant at. He just turns everything into a gimmick, and that can be a curse. Which sometimes for him, I'm sure it is, but I think it's also his blessing. So
yeah, he did a great job, and it was also it's funny to see how much I think CM Punk is still his hero, because I think he really he does this on purpose, you know. And then I did say
you put 2.
Well, I put 2 nominations. I was still going to go with the MJF scrum because it's so. I know. Well, I'll just talk about the one that is not WWE then.
We're not just listing our
I know,
favorite promos.
But I just want to say the one I listed was Jungle Boy because I thought Jungle Boy did a great promo. That he was here. I'll delete it. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Jungle Boy did a great promo for, especially it was the best one he's ever probably done, and it was like a pre-recorded one. It wasn't in front of the crowd, which I think is good. And it was I just want to say it because he has improved a lot, and also he had a great line that it was something like talking to Christian Cage about his deceased father, Luke Perry. He was like, since you're such a big fan of my dad, I'll let you say hi to him when I put you in the ground, which was a great. Insane line.
Yeah. His dad's in the ground apparently.
Yeah, he didn't get cremated.
Yikes.
All right. But match of the week.
Match of the week.
Put an honorable mention.
Okay, we
gotta stop.
Yeah, like we're not just he's just listing things, and it's like the whole point of the awards is that we highlight one.
So what did you say?
So my match of the week that I picked was Jungle Boy versus Christian Cage because I always felt it was a very engaging match. Yeah. I love the coffin gimmick. It's very theatrical. It adds a puzzle element because you're like, how's it gonna get him in there? And so it's like there's a lot of strategy to a coffin match that you don't get in some of the other matches that they have. And Jungle Boy won, which was a highlight.
Yeah, Jungle Boy keeps not being on TV and then coming back and having these incredible pay-per-view matches because I think Christian got injured, so they had to put his push on hold a little bit, or his stories on hold. And then it was great too because the crowd I think was not as into this feud at first because it had been gone for so long, but Christian and Jungle Boy just killed it, you know. The one I would put as something that maybe not everybody has seen on the New Japan anniversary show, the 51st anniversary show, Tomohiro Ishii, one of the best wrestlers in the world, versus the very newly healed David Finlay. This is the guy that attacked Jay White at Battle in the Valley. He's apparently the new leader of Bullet Club. Right now, he looks like kind of a Jay White clone, but it's like David Finlay's always been having great matches, but now he's got way more personality, and that promo he did was great, and I think he's got a lot of... The guy who was managing him, Gato, was the manager of Okada, and then he only left Okada to go to Jay White. These are two legendary New Japan main event guys now. So he's with David Finlay, and David Finlay wrestled a little bit differently, very intense match, and I think it's got a lot of potential. So, and then, so our fantasy booking...
Oh, the nerd fantasy booking time. Wait, let's do different arm movements for this one.
It's nerd fantasy booking, where we book our nerd fantasies.
Woo! Anyway, I picked
Mesa
Ruga versus Julia Hart because I haven't seen Julia Hart do much in a while, wrestling-wise. She's due for that. And Mei Sugura is the little apple goblin.
Yeah, so she was trying to bite.
She's a little apple lady, and she tries to bite people because she likes to bite like they're an apple.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a really fun matchup. I think you could get really surreal with it. I think Julia could have a little bit of fun because her character is very serious.
Yes.
And I think she could use a little bit of fun to play off of. Because when she was a cheerleader, she was all kinds of
goofy and
silly. And so I feel like she probably still has that in her. Maybe it's time to tease a little bit of that out.
It's always great to watch a super serious, dark character be like, wait, what?
Yeah.
You know?
You're an apple goblin?
My fantasy booking, based on, this is something that did happen, and I think, but I don't know that they're going to push this. So, Bishamon, Hiroki Goto, and Yoshihashi, the IWGP Tag Team Champions, guys I'm big supporters of. Goto being a big guy that was had a big run in New Japan, but never quite reached the main event. And then Yoshihashi, a guy who's struggled to get there. And he was he was there with the main event guys in the dojo. It took him longer to get there. He finally did. And then it took him years to like find his footing as like a serious performer, but in the last like couple of years, he's been one of the best on the roster, and they really found their spot as the tag team champions. They defended successfully their tag team titles against Hiroshi Tanahashi and Kazuchika Okada, the aces, the main event guys. They beat them, and it's like, I think they should do, Yoshihashi should get a title shot against Okada. He won't win, but I think it would be a great match, and I think the fans would be like very into it. So that's what I want. Do it. Do it, New Japan.
Put a
Book
lot more thought into his than I put into mine.
I watched this match yesterday.
I just want a silly magic match. Okay, now we're going to do History Lesson. So History Lesson is going to be a new segment where I tell a bit of history that I learned about wrestling and we talk about it. I'm going to give you guys a chance to catch up. So it'll be a story from this book, Sisterhood of the Squared Circle, The History and Rise of Women's Wrestling, a book I'm almost finished reading. So I'm going to come back next week and talk about it.
That's right.
Actually, hang on. Should I just do it?
Should you just finish the book right now?
Yeah. No.
Sit tight.
Yeah, and I think the first story I read about was Sable. Or not, it wasn't the first story, but the first story I wanted to bring in was about Sable, because it made me realize that the reason I did not get into wrestling as a little kid is because when I was a little kid, I was like aware of wrestling, and I remember I had a Hulk Hogan toy. Wow. But I also remember my dad bringing home a National Enquirer because he brought it home all the time, and me reading about Sable suing the WWE for sexual harassment, and not that the fact that she sued them, but like the fact that what she'd gone through in working there, and like having it in her contract that she couldn't take bumps because she has breast implants and stuff, and like all the terrible things men would do. And that really colored my impression of the WWE.
It was not an incorrect
Even
one.
as a child, I was very conscientious about women's rights, you see.
Yes.
And it did, but I do remember it making me feel bad and making me think like, oh, that's a bad place. And
you weren't wrong.
And so, yeah, I went with my gut for about 20 years, and then and then here we are.
Whoops.
Yeah. But, it did make me kind of feel bad for Sable. But then it got to the very end of her story and said that she's married to Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
And I was immediately like, fuck Sable.
I mean, and then I had tried to be like, Sable, I know that she was, it wasn't like good women's wrestling. It wasn't respectful. It was very like objectifying, sexualizing, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But I was trying to be like, well, she... they had no women's division.
No.
And then they recreated the women's divisions because of her.
Yeah.
They just wanted to feature her on the show. So they brought back the women's title and the women's division for her. Now, a few arguments to be made here. One is that it would have happened anyway. Like they would have eventually, society would have demanded that there be a women's division again.
Yeah.
So perhaps this may have actually just set them back longer because they did come back earlier, but they had to just be getting topless and assaulted all the time.
Yeah.
So perhaps it would have been better if it had just waited another 5 years or something. And it was, but I don't know if it would have really been any different.
It's hard
so
to
I don't
know. Women's wrestling, I'm learning from this book, has a very difficult history. It was actually illegal in most of the United States for a lot of the 20th century. It was not until the 70s that it became legal in California. And I think it was like the 80s in New York, maybe.
Women were not allowed to even fake compete in a sport.
No, because it was seen as purely like sexual. Like it was seen as literally just what it became in the 90s. And then, but so it was actually legal. So it's had a rough history, and her reign. I mean, there's also some stories in the book, like I don't mean to sound like super hard on her, but there's some stories in the book that make her seem like not a very nice person. Like,
I don't think that she has the reputation of being a very nice person.
She was supposed to drop the belt to somebody twice and forgot the belt in her hotel room both times. And the wrestler quoted in that story is like, I'm pretty sure she did that on purpose. Like,
yeah, of course.
She seemed like a not very nice lady.
I love people who are like new to the business and also have all this like ego. Like Goldberg was like that, where like Jericho talks about.
Yeah, because she literally wasn't a wrestler. She was just a model.
Yeah.
She had no wrestling experience.
But without her,
we wouldn't have a women's division at WWE, folks.
You know that match that you enjoyed today, that WrestleMania 32 women's triple threat match? That's Sable.
That's Sable. Anyway, So for the rest of March, I'll be bringing in stories about women's history.
All right. And I will be here.
And he'll be here defending all the misogyny.
That's right. Not thinking I am.
Both
Both
sides.
sides. There's very, very fine people.
Both sides.
Both sides.
Okay.
Okay. I think that's all we have for this week.
Yeah, it is, because we got to go eat dinner, folks.
We got to go eat dinner.
And I have to edit this video.
That's right.
So, okay. Bye, everybody. We
Bye.
love you. We'll see you next week.
Good night and good wrestling.